And finally, new rule. Stop saying that Whoopi Goldberg getting yanked from The View right after she attacked me on The View is karma. There's no such thing as karma. Sorry. Sorry, but life is random. The only word to describe it when a big game hunter gets trampled by an elephant and then eaten by lions is hilarious.
If you've ever wondered what happens when TV's most outspoken personalities collide, tonight's story will give you exactly what you came for. This isn't just another moment of heated banter. It's a rare, unscripted eruption where Bill Maher, Megyn Kelly, and Whoopi Goldberg found themselves locked in a storm of words that spilled far beyond the studio lights. It's not a simple celebrity spat. It's a cultural showdown, a moment where the masks slipped and the cracks in mainstream television debate shows became impossible to hide. So stay with me, because this story has layers, and every twist adds fuel to the fire. It all began with what looked like a passing jab. Whoopi Goldberg, in her usual sharp-tongued fashion, mocked Bill Maher on The View. It wasn't the first time she'd tossed out a comment at his expense, but this time something about it landed differently. Bill, never one to let a shot go unanswered, decided he wasn't going to brush it off. And the timing couldn't have been more explosive, because right after Whoopi took that swing at him, she found herself suddenly yanked from the show, leading many to call it karma. But Bill wasn't buying it. On his own platform, Maher cut through the chatter with his usual bluntness. "Stop saying this is karma," he fired back. "There's no such thing as karma. Life is random."
Talk about Whoopi Goldberg because I got so many texts this week because she attacked me the week before. Sure. So everybody was like, "Oh, Bill, I get you're enjoying the karma." First of all, I'm going to talk about this at the end of my show next week, teaser. But there is no fucking thing as karma, okay? Get over that. Whoopi attacks me on a regular basis. She says stupid shit on a regular basis. They just happen to coincide.
What could have stayed a throwaway exchange suddenly transformed into a full-on verbal boxing match. Maher wasn't interested in trading little jabs. He wanted to dig deeper. With his caustic wit, he reminded viewers that the show's very title, The View, was the problem. "It's called The View," he said. "It's not called The Facts." That one line pierced straight to the heart of the show's identity. It was more than an insult. It was an accusation that the show wasn't about diverse perspectives at all, but a carefully curated monologue wrapped in the illusion of discussion. And the evidence seemed to pile up.
Has to be for everybody.
Right.
We can have platforms that have stuff on them that not everyone on that platform or who consumes stuff on that platform enjoys. And The View is a particularly weird place to do a cancellation.
It's called The View?
It's called The View. It's not called The Facts.
Yeah, but isn't it interesting that it's called, I don't think they meant this when Barbara Walters invented it a long time ago, but it's The View.
Well,
that's the problem in America.
But
there is one view.
Right, and
one
that's clearly
true opinion, and everybody else can go sit in the...
Maher highlighted how the program had been forced to issue not one, not two, not three, but 4 separate legal corrections, something that should shake the credibility of any show that prides itself on discussion and information. Only 3 of those corrections even made it on air, a detail that Maher and later Megyn Kelly seized upon as proof of the program's selective transparency.
A hot mess that they air in the mornings, called The View, had to issue not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 corrections, legal corrections. 4 legal notes. We only have 3 of them on camera, but look at this.
I have another legal note.
My God.
Both Trump and Pam Bondi have denied allegations of a quid pro quo. I have a legal note.
You want to take this one, Joy, or are you
Matt
good?
has long denied all allegations and has not been charged with any crime.
Maher wasn't finished. He doubled down, dismissing the whole karma narrative entirely. People had texted him celebrating that Whoopi's sudden removal from the show was the universe balancing the scales. He laughed it off. For him, this wasn't divine justice at work. It was just the natural unpredictability of life. To drive home the absurdity, he linked the whole conversation to logical fallacies Americans often confuse with karma, dismantling the concept in his signature mix of humor and cold analysis.
I mentioned this karma stuff on the show last week because I was relating how many texts and emails I got from people congratulating me on receiving a karmagram from the universe.
And then came the lightning bolt. Maher shifted the focus from Whoopi personally to the larger system at play, a culture where debate shows pretend to encourage discussion, but in reality reinforce one narrow worldview. What good is a debate show, he asked, if it only serves up one point of view? That question didn't just linger. It cracked open something deeper, something people watching had already been sensing for years.
In the form of Whoopi Goldberg's chastisement. So I thought this would be a good time for a little tutorial on karma, which, as Americans understand it, is nothing more than an extension of the common logical fallacy called post hoc ergo propter hoc.
At that moment, Megyn Kelly stepped into the storm. From her own platform, she didn't just back up Maher, she sharpened the blade. Kelly, who has made a career out of calling out hypocrisy in both left-leaning and right-leaning media, wasn't about to hold back. She painted The View as less of a debate table and more of a performance stage, where outrage was scripted and dissenting voices were drowned out. It isn't real discussion, she argued. It's coordinated theater. Her words landed with precision. She described The View as a classroom where only the approved answers were allowed, where anyone daring to color outside the lines would be shouted down until they fell silent. What should have been an open marketplace of ideas had, in her view, devolved into an echo chamber, a soap opera of outrage presented under the guise of debate. Kelly's criticism didn't just echo Maher's frustration, it escalated it. She highlighted the multiple legal corrections as the most damning evidence, suggesting that the show wasn't just flawed in its approach to conversation, but was actively failing in its responsibility to present accurate information. And the fact that only part of those corrections made it to air was, in her eyes, an unspoken admission that the show's image mattered more than accountability. Meanwhile, social media was ablaze. Hashtags trended. Timelines split into camps. One group stood with Whoopi, defending her as a fearless voice who simply said what others were too afraid to. Another group sided with Maher, applauding his sharp dismantling of both Whoopi's comments and the concept of karma itself. And then there was a growing third group, viewers who resonated with Kelly's unflinching critique of the show's entire structure. They weren't interested in defending one celebrity over another. They wanted to talk about the bigger issue, how television debates had lost their authenticity. Whoopi's removal from the show only poured gasoline on the fire. Was it deserved discipline, a network decision, or just a convenient coincidence? Maher didn't hesitate. He chalked it up to the unpredictability of the media machine. But the optics were undeniable. To those watching from the outside, it looked like one of the show's most powerful voices had been momentarily silenced right after attacking one of its loudest critics. And whether that was karma, irony, or pure chance, it was impossible to ignore. As the feud played out, Megyn Kelly's uncompromising tone stood out. She didn't mince words. She didn't hedge her critiques with politeness. She went straight to the core. The View wasn't a place for debate. It was a place for reinforced consensus, where the occasional spark of opposition was quickly extinguished. And in a media world where audiences are increasingly starved for authenticity, her blunt dissection resonated. For Maher, the exchange offered another chance to hammer home his larger frustration with the state of public discourse.
Donald Trump will be sworn in as the 47th president of the United States, yay, on January 20th of this month. Not everyone's happy about it, and many people would like us to be more focused on the insurrection that he personally unleashed. If you ask them, as we discussed earlier, they think it's as bad as like the Holocaust, and you don't have to take my word for it. Here is Sunny Hostin of
January
The View
6th was an atrocity. It was one of the worst moments in American history. And when you think about the worst moments in American history, like World War II, things that happened, like the Holocaust, chattel slavery.
Yeah, the January 6th is right up there next to the Holocaust.
This wasn't just about Whoopi or about a single show. It was about the dangerous comfort of living inside ideological bubbles. And whether people agreed with him or not, his willingness to question the premise of the entire debate format gave his commentary a weight that couldn't be shrugged off. The more the story spread, the clearer it became that this was bigger than a spat between television personalities. It was a mirror held up to the state of American media. What audiences were seeing wasn't an isolated moment. It was a symptom of a broader sickness. Debate had been replaced with performance. Conversation had been replaced with echo chambers. And when someone like Maher or Kelly called it out, the reactions revealed just how deeply people were divided over what they even wanted from their media.
I'm old enough to remember when it was the conservatives who hated the Jews.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bill Maher, who has been the standard bearer for liberalism and in many ways leftism until the woke went bananas in this last decade, but for decades, that's what this guy has represented in America. I want you to note the tone they all talk with him. I want you to look at Sunny Hostin's body language and the way they look at him and everything else. Just because he is a lefty who hasn't gone completely bananas, here they are talking.
Some viewers argued that shows like The View needed to adapt, to welcome in more diverse perspectives and allow genuine back and forth instead of rehearsed outrage. Others insisted the show was fine as it was, serving its loyal audience who tuned in not for balance, but for affirmation. And then there were those who wondered if the format itself had simply run its course, that maybe the days of panel talk shows as serious cultural forums were over. Kelly's words about The View staging outrage instead of hosting debate stuck with people. They echoed across social media, in comment sections, in podcasts, even in the headlines of articles dissecting the feud. For her critics, she was being harsh and opportunistic. For her supporters, she was finally saying what had needed to be said for years. As for Whoopi, she remained a polarizing figure at the center of it all. To her fans, she was being unfairly targeted by people who didn't understand her style. To her detractors, her removal was evidence that her comments had gone too far, too often. But in the end, whether you were pro-Whoopi, pro-Maher, or pro-Kelly, the collision of their voices forced a conversation far larger than any one of them. Because here's the truth. When Maher laughed off karma, when Kelly dissected the show's structure, when Whoopi fired her shots, what we were really watching was a fight over the soul of public discourse itself. Is media about reinforcing what audiences already believe, or is it about challenging them? Is debate supposed to be theater, or should it be messy, uncomfortable, and real? This saga felt less like a celebrity feud and more like watching cracks form in a dam. You don't know when the wall will break, but you sense it's inevitable. Audiences are growing restless. They're tired of seeing the same outrage packaged in predictable ways. They want something authentic, something unscripted, something that feels like real debate again. And so we're left with a question that lingers long after the sparks fade. Is it the View that needs to change, or is it the audience that has to demand something different?